third of the way through the opening round of this tournament. We have seen quite a few great fights in the first 2 episodes, and there will be a bunch more coming tonight. In this episode, we'll see the attempt of many more rookie contenders who will prove that they have what it takes to win a War Machines title. Many more returners from last season will also be in this episode and look to prove that they look to go all the way to the finals this season. Let's now check out some of the fights that we will be seeing tonight. Leading it off, we have a rematch from last season as Sawblades will take on the undercutter of Annie Are You OK? Second, we will see the debut of the full body spinner of Shredderator, who will take on the horizontal spinner of Supernova. Up third, we have the return of Nightmare, who will take on the lifter of Wedge at Doom. The next fight features a Robot Wars battle between the flipper of Danton Kia and the chain flail spinner of Nuts. Following that, we see the debut of 2 more major contenders, as the horizontal spinner of Wharf will take on the saw of Pussycat. The 6th fight of the night features the axe of Exterminator, who has a fight with the drum spinner of 900 coming. The first highlight fight of the night features 2 Battlebots Comedy Central legends, as the lifter of Tazbot will take on the horizontal spinner of Ronin. Next, the wedge of Brutus will clash with Mute and their front-hinged flipper. We'll see the return of Nelly the Ellibot and Splody Boy, who will meet in our next battle. Mr. Mangle, an interesting design, and has a fight with Scorpion as their horizontal spinner has something to say about it. The last highlight fight of the night features the wedge of Raging Scotsman, who will take on the full body spinner of Trigo. The next fight we'll get to see features 2 more returners from the Battlebots, as Rainbow looks to use their horizontal spinner to cause some destruction on the well-armored bot and the vertical strum of Wanahu. Storm 2 looks to use their low ground and push power to their advantage in their fight, as they will clash with the Axe of Tomahawk in our next fight. Finally, we will see the return of Razer and their devastating Crusher, who will take on the horizontal spinner of Tornado Mur. Last but not least, we have our main event, which is a Battlebots and Bugglebots face-off, as the Hammersoft Scorpios will take on the Wedge of Thunderchild. Another great lineup is presented for you tonight. Let's get to our first fight. For our first fight of the night, we have a rematch from last season, as we will see Annie Are You OK? Take on Sawblaze. On one side, we have Annie Are You OK? A undercutter horizontal spinner. That horizontal spinner is quite powerful, as that thing can dish out some heavy damage. Of course, though, their big con is 1, those exposed wheels, and 2, they're not very low to the ground, so push power is very small here for this spot. On the other side, we have Sawblaze, who made the semifinals and fell in the first round to Mo of their semifinal. Now, as that saw is also a quite powerful weapon, and along with that, that scoop that they have up front is very low to the ground, and so they have a lot of push power there. Of course, though, they do have those exposed wheels and their exposed backside that Annie Are You OK? Will probably want to take advantage of, because it's probably not going to be wise if Annie Are You OK? Tries to attack the front of Sawblaze. Before we get to the start of this fight, let's show some highlights from last season from when these 2 faced off. Last time these 2 fought, we saw lots of aggression out of Sawblaze, as right from the start of the fight, Sawblaze is just charging at Annie Are You OK? With their front, just not allowing Annie Are You OK? To get the upper hand in this fight. And Annie Are You OK? Has struggled big time in this one, just could not get at the right angle on Sawblaze, and eventually Annie Are You OK? Simply got dumped in the pit. Let's see, will Annie Are You OK? Get payback in this fight? Let's find out, as these 2 will fight now. Here comes Sawblaze charging right out of the gate once again and scooping up Annie Are You OK? Once again and landing a big hit with that hammer saw. Here comes Sawblaze getting that flame D action and lands another nasty shot to the top of Annie Are You OK? So far, this is turning out the same as last time. Here comes RA2, getting scooped up by Sawblaze again and getting rammed right into the rails. RA2 has got to get out of there, get some breathing room, and attack Sawblaze from the right angle here. But right now, they're just getting toyed with by Sawblaze. The Sawblaze just charging in there, just using their push power to their advantage, and just not allowing RA2 to get an advantage here. Sawblaze just landing some devastating shots with that saw, and as well using that flamethrower to cause a little bit of extra damage, just not allowing RA2 to get any breathing room here, showing no mercy here. RA2 finally getting some breathing room, getting that spinner up to speed. So far, Sawblaze has been holding up so well to that punishment, and ramming them into the rails, nearly getting RA2 out of the arena. One thing Sawblaze is doing very well is they are definitely being very cautious about when they time those hammer saw strikes there, as they probably don't want to go weapon on weapon, knowing they did lose their saw last time these two fought. But right now, Sawblaze timing those shots perfectly and managing to still land a ton of devastating blows like what we just saw right there, as they are just continuing to bully RA2 around just like the last time these two fought. From Sawblaze just not allowing RA2, just keeping the pressure going here. What a fight we are seeing to open up this episode. As Sawblaze on the attack once again, they got RA2 going. That scoop, very effective in a fight like this. Sawblaze gets flipped, but they do self-right there. But here comes another push by Sawblaze, and landing another hammer shot. But now Sawblaze pushing them near the pit and pushing them down the pit, and Sawblaze wins this fight by knockout. And what a fight we just saw! What a lot of action here. Sawblaze immediately just charging right at RA2, scooping them up with their front, and then landing a ton of shots with that hammer saw, and getting that flamethrower in on the action for some extra fun. Very impressive fight out of Sawblaze here. Just did not allow RA2 to get any breathing room and attack from the right angle here. Impressive performance from Sawblaze, and I bet they will get a high seed in the next round. And as for RA2, we could see them in the hunt for one of the wildcard spots, as they will for sure be a major contender for one of those 14 spots. We go to the DSL class for our next fight, which features the full body spinner of Shredderator, who will take on the horizontal spinner Supernova. On the left side, we have Shredderator, who are making their debut this season, as they got that nasty full body spinner, and I will tell you, that thing is no joke. We will probably be seeing some destruction out of that thing this season. Of course, one big problem though is that if they do get flipped, they cannot self-right, and that is big trouble for them. On the other side, we have Supernova, a returner from last season, as they won their first fight against Bombshell, but fell to Monsoon in the second round. That horizontal spinner is another nasty weapon, as that horizontal spinner has a lot of power to it. But of course, they do have those exposed sides and exposed wheels that their opponent might try to take advantage of. I bet we will be seeing a lot of weapon-on-weapon action in this one. I wonder who will hold up better between these two bots. Let's now find out as we begin this fight. Here we go now, both bots getting their spinners up to full speed here. We got some weapon-on-weapon action between these two bots. Some big hits to lead it off. I don't know who's getting the better of these exchanges though. Big hit there. Predator a little wobbly there. Could that be something to watch? Off comes the spinner of Supernova. What the heck is going on here? Oh my gosh! The top armor has come off of Supernova. Shredderator is doing some big time damage here, and we are not even a minute into this fight. But now Supernova has Shredderator pinned, and Supernova's, their control board is in danger here. Shredderator, in less than a minute, causing some major damage to Supernova, some unseen damage. And I did not expect to see this coming as Shredderator wins this by knockout. Wow. It looked like both bots were holding up very well, as we saw tons of weapon-on-weapon action there. But then the fight really got bad at this point here when Supernova first lost that spinner there, and lost all their offense. And then following that, not long, we saw this happen. Off came the top armor, some damage that we have never seen before, and then it wasn't long after that when Shredderator got to the control board and completely killed Supernova there. If you think that fight was excellent, wait till you see our next fight, as we will see the return of Nightmare, who won their first fight but then fell to Bite Force in the second round, who will take on Wedge of Doom here in the DSL class. On one side, we have Nightmare, who has a massive vertical spinner, and that thing has a lot of power to it. We saw a lot of destruction out of it in their fights from last season, and I bet we'll be seeing a lot out of it tonight. Of course, though, if they do get flipped over, it is possible for them to self-right, but they do struggle to do it at times. Their opponent is Wedge of Doom, a lifter bot. This thing has a lot of push power to it, even though the lifter may not be that effective at times. But they do have those exposed sides, and those 6 wheels that they have are very much exposed and are something that Nightmare could take advantage of. So, let's find out how many flips Wedge of Doom manages to get on Nightmare, as these two will clash starting now. Here comes Wedge of Doom charging right at Nightmare, where they're trying to box rush or something, but no matter, they take a few big hits and then want to watch out for those spike traps there. Wedge of Doom, they need to find the right angle and attack Nightmare from the sides of it, because clearly going head on is not working. They get a lift on Nightmare and get a flip, but Nightmare very quickly self-rights through the use of their spinner. Very effective self-righting ability there from Nightmare. And here comes Wedge of Doom right back on the attack once again, trying to get another lift, just doesn't quite get it. They're underneath Nightmare once again. Nightmare's got to get out of there, but Nightmare gets flipped once again, I believe, but they do self-right once again. Nightmare able to self-right through the use of their own spinner brilliantly here. And right now, they are giving Wedge of Doom a lot of trouble here. Here comes Wedge of Doom trying to get another flip on Nightmare, trying to get them upside down once again. But they get flipped! Wedge of Doom, could they be in trouble here? I don't think they can self-right. That's going to be a big problem. Here comes Nightmare on the attack once again, landing a ton of devastating shots with that vertical spinner. And right now, Wedge of Doom is in the corner. They gotta get out of there, they gotta self-right and quick before Nightmare starts to really stack up some damage. I think we are seeing some smoke out of Wedge of Doom. That's not a good sign here, as they're trying to self-right, but Nightmare just coming back for more. Another hit, big hit, another massive shot, and the control board might be in trouble for Wedge of Doom here, but yet they are still taking hit after hit and still able to keep going here. Comes another big hit. Nightmare trying to go for those exposed wheels. And there goes a few more shots, and I think a wheel just came off there in the corner. Right now, Wedge of Doom, they finally self-right, but is it possibly too late? Their control board is in major trouble here, and Nightmare has done some major damage to it. Nightmare landing another big shot, pushing Wedge of Doom down the pit of oblivion, and Nightmare wins and will be advancing to the next round. Might have been a big mistake for Wedge of Doom trying to go head on at the beginning of this fight, but even though They did take a bunch of big hits. They did manage to get a few major lifts in here, as they did give Nightmare some major trouble here, giving Nightmare a little bit of airtime. But the turning point happened right here, when Wedge of Doom got flipped over and was just unable to self-right, and Nightmare just went absurd with that vertical spinner and caused a major amount of damage. Damaged the control board, knocked off a wheel, and then eventually knocked Wedge of Doom down the pit of oblivion. A very impressive win for Nightmare. Coming up next, we have our first fight in the Robot Wars class of the night, which features Dantom Kia and Nuts. On one side, we have Dantom Kia Flipperbot, as that flipper is very powerful, and I see there is a typo on that strength, as that should be a powerful flipper, not a powerful spinner, as that thing does have a lot of power to it, and they are quite low to the ground. Of course, though, if they do get flipped over, they might be able to self-right quite well in Robot Wars, but they struggle to self-right here, and that could be a problem for them if Nuts 2 manages to flip them over somehow, with that use their own weapon, or if that's one of the hazards. So on the other side, we got Nuts 2, as said, a flail spinner, as that's one of the only flail spinner, that's probably the only flail spinner here in the competition. They have a very unusual design, which of course could be a problem for Dantom Kia. But one big problem that they have is that they cannot drive and spin at the same time. This should be a very interesting fight, as I imagine both of these bots could give each other a lot of trouble, and so I am very much looking forward to seeing this one. Here comes Dantom Kia right on the attack, looking to use Nuts' weakness of not being able to spin and drive at the same time to their advantage, just not allowing Nuts to get the full speed, and the Dantom Kia has Nuts in the corner. Right now, Nuts has got to get out of there and get spinning there. But right, they do get spinning, but Dantom Kia evades that attack there. Here comes Nuts, trying to get within reach of Dantom Kia to get that spinner going here, but they take a flip instead, and Dantom Kia opens up the pit. Could we see Dantom Kia pushing Nuts down the pit, or possibly the other way around? Another flip by Dantom Kia here. They are definitely giving Nuts a lot of trouble here in this fight. Another push by Dantom Kia, and another flip, launching Nuts 2 up into the air. Those are some excellent and well-timed flips that we are seeing here. They toss Nuts once again, and another toss here. 1 minute into this fight, and I bet Dantom Kia right now has the lead on points. But there's still quite a bit more time left to go in this fight, so that could very easily change. We see more flips being landed by Dantom Kia, and they take a shot from a floor flipper. Dantom Kia also using the hazards to their advantage here. That's always been something to watch. Another flip. Now Dantom Kia caught on the spike strips, but they get off it very quickly. And Nuts, they're spinning on one wheel. Awesome dance that we were seeing from them there. But now Dantom Kia back on the attack, does not allow Nuts to use that flail spinner on them, as they look like they're trying to lead Nuts towards the pit of oblivion. That may be the right move for Dantom Kia in case of a turning point happens here, as we have a little over a minute left to go in this fight. Here comes Dantom Kia once again, pushing Nuts towards the pit and knocking them down, and Dantom Kia wins. Excellent fight here, as Dantom Kia just using Nuts' weakness, where they can't drive and spin at the same time, to their advantage to perfection. They use their push power and their flipping power to their advantage to keep Nuts off guard and to not allow them to hit Dantom Kia and to deal some damaging blows with their spinner. And eventually, all that Dantom Kia needed quite a little bit later in the fight was some last pushes, and push Nuts down the pit of oblivion in order to win this fight. Impressive fight out of both machines fights here. Coming up next, we have Wharf, who will take on Pussycat as we return to the DSL class. On the left side, we have Wharf, and they have another undercutter here. And that horizontal spinner is another deadly spinner here. And we like to see lots of those things, because those things are fun to watch. Of course, though, even though they do have those two wedgelets there, they don't have too much push power, and they also have those exposed sides that I'm sure their opponent might try to take advantage of during this fight. On the other side, we have Pussycat, a vertical spinner or a saw, either one really is a good. As that spinner, though, is quite powerful, we could see some major damage dished out by it. But of course, a big problem is that it is quite difficult to control, along with the fact that those wheels are very much exposed there. I imagine Wharf will be trying to take bites out of those wheels, and Pussycat will be trying to take out bites of Wharf's sides. And this should be an interesting fight, so now let's get to it. Here comes Pussycat right on the attack, landing a shot right off the gate, getting some blows to the sides just like what they want. But now Wharf on the attack, are they going to get one of those exposed wheels there? But now Pussycat gets away, gets that spare to keep going again, but then takes another shot from Wharf and their spinner. This is not where Pussycat wants to be here, as Wharf is on the attack here, not allowing Pussycat to attack it right at the right angle here. Right now, Pussycat trying to get out of there, struggling to do so, and now they're in the corner there. That could be something to watch here. It looks like a wheel came off of Pussycat too. That's not good, but if this continues. Right now, Pussycat down to 3 wheels here. And Wharf trying to take advantage of that. Knocks off another wheel, and now Pussycat only has drive on one side here. Not good, not a good start for Pussycat, and we still have a little less than 2 minutes left to go in this fight. Wharf is taking advantage of Pussycat, only have one side in their only have one side drive to perfection here, as they are dishing out some major damage. And down goes the control board, and the winner is Wharf by knockout here. We saw some big things out of Pussycat early in this fight, managing to get a few jabs on the side with that vertical disc there. But then it wasn't long before Wharf decided that they were going to take control of this fight, managing to dish out some heavy blows with that horizontal spinner and cause a lot of mayhem and chaos in this fight. And eventually, they started picking off wheels here and managed to eliminate drive on one side for Pussycat, which gave them so much trouble here. And all it took after that was some more shots to the sides there, and eventually Pussycat's control board fell, and awarding Wharf with the instant KO. We go back to the Robot Wars class for our next fight, where we will see Exterminator take on 900. On one side, we have Exterminator, a Robot Wars hammer bot here. As that hammer does dish out quite a bit of damage, and they also have a scoop that's quite low to the ground up front that gives them a lot of push power here. But their big problem, though, is that those sides are actually quite delicate here, and they will for sure want to keep their opponents off and away from those sides. So their opponent is 900, a drum spinner. And right now, definitely their big strength is that drum spinner. Dish out some heavy damage if their opponents are not careful here. But their big problem is that they are not exactly that low to the ground here. So we could see Exterminator winning some push battles between those two if this was to happen. This should be a very interesting fight, and I am very much looking forward to it. Let's get to this fight. bots going right for each other here, but Exterminator getting lifted off the ground thanks to that drum spinner taking a huge hit right to the side and getting sent flying. But now Exterminator landing a few shots with that axe, but then taking another lift from 900's drum spinner, going flying once again, another major shot. And Exterminator, not only is their control board in trouble, but they are smoking in the backside. That is not a way you want to start this fight. Less than 30 seconds in, and their axe just got chopped off. Exterminator without a weapon, they're going to have to use that scoop to their advantage and try to control this fight, but that's not going to be easy because 900 has been just dishing out some major damage points here. This is not how Exterminator was wanting to start this fight. Now they're underneath 900, trying to land some blows, pushing them into the rails, but down goes the control board instead, right when 900's drum spinner connected, and 900 wins this fight. I did not see this coming here. 900 landing a bunch of major shots right onto the front of Exterminator and sending them flying into the air quite a few times. But then this part in the fight was when it really started to get bad for Exterminator here, taking some major shots to the backside to damage their control board, and eventually they lost the axe completely here, and leaving them weaponless and leaving them needing to use their push power to their advantage, but it kind of came back to haunt them as 900's drum spinner connected and ended the fight for them. Next up, we have our first highlight fight of the night, which we will start in the DSL class, where we will see the horizontal spinner Ronin take on the lifter of Tazbot. And we saw Tazbot trying to get the right angle on Ronin, trying to get a flip in there, but unable to do that very easily, as we saw Ronin just getting a ton of jabs right to the side, trying to go for an exposed wheel, but it was all over for Ronin at this point here, when Tazbot managed to get a flip on Ronin, and all they needed to do was just push Ronin down the pit of Oblivion to win this fight. Coming up second, we have Brutus, who a low-to-the-ground wedge bot with a lot of push power will take on the front hinge flipper of Mute. Now, immediately in this one, Brutus just got to the sides of Mute, pushing them around, just not allowing Mute to use that front hinge flipper on them. And this was just such a problem for Mute there, just not able to use that flipper. We eventually did see them get a flip or two in, but it was not enough as Brutus quickly got to the sides once again and eventually pushed them down the pit of Oblivion. Our third highlight fight features some of the Battlebots and Bugglebots class 2 returners, as we have the Hammer of Nelly the Ellibot and the horizontal spinner of Splody Boy. Coming up here, as we see Nelly the Ellibot holding up very well to that horizontal spinner here and landing a bunch of shots of their own for the use of that hammer. They were giving Splody Boy a lot of trouble in this one and managing to ram them against the rails constantly. But then we did see some Splody Boy dish out some major damage here, start to take pieces off of the hammer, use the lifting hazard to their advantage, and eventually managed to flip Nelly the Ellibot over and win this fight. Up fourth, we have Mr. Mangle and Scorpion, 2 spinner bots from the Robot Wars class, who's going to clash in our next highlight fight. Things did not start out strong for Mr. Mangle. We saw lots of weapon-on-weapon action here, with some big hits that Scorpion won, and eventually the damage really started dishing out when Scorpion managed to tear apart Mr. Mangle's self-righting system here. And then all that was left was a ton of weapon-on-weapon exchanges until this happened, resulting in a KO for Scorpion and a spot for them in the next round. Finally, we have Raging Scotsman and the Wedgebot who will take on the full-body spinner of Trigo. This should be an interesting one. In this one, Raging Scotsman just box rushed Trigo and landed a perfect box rush there, just not allowing Trigo to get full speed. Trigo eventually ended up spinning completely out of control in this one, even though that movement is considered movement in War Machine Season 2 here. it didn't help them out very much, as eventually it led to their own downfall as they took themselves down to the pit of oblivion. Big congrats to our highlight fight winners, Tazbot, Brutus, Splody Boy, Scorpion, and Raging Scotsman, who will all be moving on to the next round. The other 5 will be in the hunt for a wildcard spot, and I could see quite a few of them possibly getting one of those spots. These highlight fights will be coming out, the whole thing, at the end of the season. If there are any one of these spots you are just dying to see here, or any fights you just want to see that badly. Our next fight of the night features Rainbow and Wanhu, 2 returners from last season who both had exits in the second round of their teams. On one side, we have Rainbow and their horizontal spinner. That horizontal spinner has a lot of power to it, but of course they do have those exposed sides, and their spinner has proven it last year to be relatively delicate here, and that will be something to watch when these two clash. On the other side, we have Wanhu, a drum spinner. That thing is very well armored, and that vertical spinner does have some power to it. And one big problem, though, is that their sides are exposed. Their sides can be a major target for Rainbow's spinner, and that drum and even their wedges up front can be oddly delicate. This should be one heck of a fight to see, so let's get right to it. Comes Wanhu on the attack while Rainbow getting their spinner full speed. We see a couple weapon-on-weapon collisions here. Seems like both bots are holding up very well so far in this action here. Some more shots there, and now Wanhu taking control, getting underneath Rainbow. I see some damage done to one of Wanhu's wedgelets here. That could be something to watch here in this fight if it starts to become a problem here. More weapon-on-weapon exchanges here. I see more bits and pieces coming off, possibly parts of the front. Looks like parts of the front of Wanhu here. So here we go. Wanhu looking to attack at the right angle, taking more punishment from Rainbow's spinner. But right now, Wanhu loses a piece of their spinner. That's not good. That's what Wanhu has been trying to avoid here. And off comes another big piece of the spinner. That drum spinner does not look how it did at the beginning of this fight here. Wanhu taking some major damage here, nearly goes down the pit, but now pushing Rainbow, trying to get them down the pit, and they successfully do, and Wanhu wins it by knockout. I think this may have been some luck for Wanhu here. We did see lots of weapon-on-weapon exchanges at the beginning of this fight, and including a little bit of control by Wanhu through the use of their ground game. You see them getting underneath Rainbow, pushing them around the arena a little bit, but things did not go Wanhu's way for long, as they did take a bunch of hits that caused bits of their weapon to come off, but even though they were able to avoid staying out of the pit of oblivion, they were luckily able to push Rainbow down the pit. Fantastic performance for both bots, and Rainbow will definitely be in the hunt for a wild card. Coming up next, we have Storm 2 and Tomahawk from the Robot Wars class. We have Storm 2 and Lifter bot. That bot is very low to the ground and has a lot of push powers. That is what they are very well known for. But their big problem is that their lifter is not the most effective weapon here, as that could be a potential problem for them, but their push power and ground game could help them in this fight against Tomahawk and Axebot. That Axebot is quite well armored here. It's got some push power to it, but that axe is very delicate, so that could be something to watch when these two clash here. I am very excited for this fight, and so now let's get to the start of this one. Storm 2 racing right out of the gate here and pushing Tomahawk around. And we see a few axe shots from Tomahawk. So quick as Storm 2, and looks like Tomahawk already lost the head of their axe. That's not a good way to start this fight. Storm 2 nearly gets Tomahawk down the pit of oblivion. That's probably going to be Storm 2's big strategy for this one. Try to get Tomahawk down the pit of oblivion. But now they are getting battered by the broken axe of Tomahawk. Even though they're hitting them with only the stick, they will still get points for each hit there, as they are still managing to land hit after hit with that stick there. But Storm 2 pushing them around. They've got Tomahawk in the corner, and Tomahawk goes flying. Here comes Storm 2 pushing them down the pit of oblivion, and Storm 2 wins this fight by knockout. This fight may have been a little less than a minute long, but there was a lot of action here. Storm 2 was clearly low to the ground here, had a lot more push power than Tomahawk here, and they took that to their advantage. Tomahawk lost the tip of their axe very early in this fight and had to use the stick of their axe in order to try to cause some more damage and get some more points here. And they did that very effectively. But it was not enough in this fight, as Storm 2 was able to use their push power and their low ground and managed to eventually push Tomahawk all the way down into the pit. Effective and powerful performance from Storm 2. I am very much looking forward to our next fight as we return to the DSL class. We will see Razer take on Tornado Mer. On one side, we have Razer, a returner from last year who had an early exit against free shipping last season. That bot and the powerful Crusher is looking to prove themselves tonight when they take on the spinner of Tornado Mer. Tornado Mer has a powerful horizontal spinner, but that spinner is relatively delicate. They will probably want to try to avoid the front of Razer as much as possible and try to get to the sides and the back side of Razer, as that is where they are weakest and where their wheels are exposed here. On the other hand, Razer is probably going to try to box rush Tornado Mer, just prevent that spinner from getting up to full speed and nail Tornado Mer with that Crusher and inflict some heavy damage. So now that you know all about this, let's get to the fight. Here comes Razer looking to box rush right as they plan to getting Tornado Mer off balance, and they have them. Just missed with the Crusher there. Tornado Mer got free just in time, but now Razer on the attack, and Tornado Mer lost a piece of their spinner. That's not a way to start this fight, and Razer dropping that Crusher right on Tornado Mer, looking to inflict some heavy damage here. Excellent start to this fight for Razer. This is not how Tornado Mer would want to start this fight, as they are off balance thanks to that broken piece of their spinner. Razer looking to take advantage of that, pushing their broken blade around. And now Razer opening up the pit, coming in for another attack here. And they got Tornado Mer once again. And dropping that Crusher, but then wasn't able to inflict much. But now they have them again, and dropping that Crusher. Just how much damage are they doing to Tornado Mer? But no matter what it is, the points are probably stacking up for Razer right now. Looks like another piece of Tornado Mer's spinner came off. Luckily they are balanced here, but they are back on the attack, but without a weapon here. Tornado Mer will have to try to control this fight here, get some points for aggression and control, as that may be what Tornado Mer needs in order to win this fight. Maybe get Razer down the pit of oblivion. Razer gets flipped. I gotta say though, Razer seems to be struggling a bit here, flipping themselves over again. They just can't seem to get underneath Tornado Mer. as that seems to be a problem right now. But now Razer underneath them, dropping that crusher once again, dishing out some more damage here. And we see the tip of Tornado Mur's spinner come off. So now Tornado Mur is spinnerless now. And now they are underneath Razer. Less than a minute to go in this fight here. Razer, they gotta be in the lead in points right now, but probably not by much. As ever since Tornado Mur lost two pieces of their spinner, it's been harder for Razer to catch Tornado Mur and use that crusher on them. 30 seconds to go, a little over 30 seconds to go in this fight here. Razer trying to get something going. Can they get Tornado Mur down the pit? They're hovering right above it, and they do so. And Razer wins this fight by knockout. And that was a very exciting fight here as Razer just box rushing Tornado Mur right from the start, just as they planned to do in this fight, and managed to eventually get Tornado Mur off balance. We saw a piece of Tornado Mur's spinner break off, and Razer just took advantage of that completely and just used that to their advantage so that way they could pin Tornado Mur in the corner and drop that crusher on them and inflict some major damage there. We saw the points stack up at this point, but the potential turning point happened right after they were let go, where Razer just seemed to struggle just to get underneath Tornado Mur, including they were flipped a few times, but it wasn't enough, as Razer quite soon after that managed to be able to push Tornado Mur clean down the pit of oblivion and win this fight. So now coming up next, we have our main event, the last fight of the night. We have Scorpios from Battlebots taking on Thunderchild from Bugglebots. On one side, we have Scorpios with a powerful saw for a weapon at their dish. And that thing, it can cause a lot of damage if their opponents are not careful here. But of course, some big problems involved with them is that those tires are exposed. Their backside is also exposed. So we could see their opponent, Thunderchild, trying to take advantage of that. As we got Thunderchild, a wedge design. This thing is quite low to the ground. It has a lot of push power, and most of all, it is very durable. As this is probably one of the most durable bots in the competition here. But of course, though, if this fight had to go to the judges, that wedge doesn't cause a lot of damage, so not a lot of offense is definitely their big weakness here. Either way, this should be a very exciting fight, but before we get to the fight, let's see some highlights from last season from one of these two competitors. Thunderchild used their massive push power and intense durability to get past their first few opponents, including pulling off one of the biggest upsets in War Machine's history last season over one of the favorites to win the whole thing. Even after coming up just short in their heat final and their last chance fight, Thunderchild is back, and they are here to go further than last season. Here comes Thunderchild charging right out of the gate like a battering ram and ends up taking a shot or two from Scorpios' saw. That will definitely be something to watch, just how much damage Scorpios can do with that saw. They are landing a few shots there to the top of Thunderchild here, but yet they are still charging like a battering ram here. Thunderchild showing their speed and quickness to Scorpios here, using that to their advantage and charging it. Charging, and Thunderchild ends up flipping themselves over the top of Scorpios. But now, ramming Scorpios into the rails, just trying to push them around the arena. Thunderchild opens up the pit of oblivion as an option for them. Might be try to put Scorpios down the pit of oblivion and win this fight by knockout. But now Thunderchild getting underneath Scorpios here, pushing them around and almost getting a flip on Scorpios there, but takes them into the rails now. Thunderchild very low to the ground, trying to use their low ground game to their advantage here, and try to avoid that saw on Scorpios as much as possible here. But that is not an easy task here. As we see Thunderchild getting a few more pushes in on Scorpios. Lots of aggression and control being shown from Thunderchild here in this fight. Excellent fight here from both bots here as we are approaching the halfway mark. Scorpios take... Thunderchild took a shot from the floor flipper halfway through this fight, and I gotta say, it's been very close so far. Scorpios getting a few shots with that saw in there. Thunderchild getting a bunch of big pushes, but Thunderchild, I think I'm seeing smoke out of Thunderchild. That could be a sign of some damage being done by Scorpios. That saw there. But Thunderchild, they are still pushing. Still trying to give Scorpios some trouble and stack up on some control and aggression points. A minute left to go in this fight, and Scorpios lands another hit with the saw and flips Thunderchild over. Thunderchild is a little less effective upside down, but they are still charging at Scorpios like an absolute battering ram here. There we go. There goes another shot. A few more hits from Scorpios. I saw a piece flying off earlier. And now Thunderchild just not able to right themselves and taking a bunch of big hits from Scorpios' spinner as a result of it. But now Thunderchild self-rights after going flying a few times. What a fight this has been. This has been an enjoyable main event. Less than 20 seconds left to go in this fight. Scorpios and Thunderchild trying to get some last-minute attacks here, show the last impression on the panel of judges here, and now we have less than 10. 5 seconds left. Scorpios landing a few more shots on Thunderchild, and the clock hits 0, and this fight is going to the judges. First judges' decision of the night, and this is not going to be an easy one to call. Some big hits to start it off here. It's Thunderchild and Scorpios. We saw some big action there. Scorpios landing a bunch of big hits with that saw. Thunderchild getting underneath Scorpios and getting a bunch of pushes and even getting a few flips involved. Now, at this point in the fight, Scorpios may have started to take over here, sending Thunderchild flying. But we did see some excellent pushes throughout the match in this one. This will be a very tough decision for the judges. A very impressive performance out of both bots here, as we saw a lot of action out of each of them in each of their favor. So now, let's get to the decision. And we have a split decision, first one of the season. Judge Green Square scored this battle in favor of Scorpios. Judge Borinog scored this battle in favor of Thunderchild. And finally, Judge Daily Dose of Battlebots scored this battle in favor of the winner of this main event, Scorpios. I gotta say, this fight could have gone either way. Excellent performance out of both bots, and I bet Thunderchild will be near the top of the list for a wild card, as excellent performance from Thunderchild, even though they did not come out on top in this one. I gotta say, what a fight card we just saw. What an episode, as we saw the debut of many potential newcomers here, as we saw Shredderator having a very impressive performance. Same thing with Danton Kia. We saw Sawblaze go 2-0 against Annie Are You OK? Razer with an impressive performance. And then we saw many other contenders where they may not have come out on top, but we could see them as wildcard contenders here, as we are now officially a third of the way through the opening round here. There are many more fights to come, many more exciting machines to see, and I will hopefully see you then.